Welcome back to Tech Cloud Solutions. In this video, part 2 of the series, we'll go through 5 more critical AZ-900 exam questions you're likely to see in 2026. Treat this like a mini mock test. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, make sure you check that after this video to cover the first 5 questions. Let's start with question 6. A company is planning on moving some of its on-premises resources to Azure. They have to classify various expenses as part of the business justification for moving to Azure. One of the expenses identify as software licensing. Which category this expense belongs to? The options are A, operational expenditure, OpEx, B, capital expenditures, CapEx, C, primary expenditure, D, secondary expenditure. This question tests your understanding of cloud financial models and how to classify different types of expenses when moving to Azure. You need to determine whether software licensing in a cloud context is a one-time upfront purchase, CapEx, or a recurring operational cost, OpEx. The correct answer is operational expenditure, OpEx. Software licensing in Azure is considered operational expenditure, OpEx, because it involves ongoing, recurring costs that are paid based on usage or subscription periods. When you move to Azure, you typically pay for software licenses through subscription models, monthly or annually, rather than purchasing perpetual licenses upfront. OpEx includes expenses like cloud service subscriptions, software licenses, and support costs that are deducted from your revenue in the same accounting period. This is a key advantage of cloud migration, converting large upfront capital investments into predictable operational expenses. Why the other options are incorrect. Capital expenditures. CapEx, B, refers to upfront costs for physical infrastructure like servers, storage devices, or buildings, which have long-term value and are depreciated over time. Primary expenditure, C, is not a standard financial classification used in cloud economics or Azure cost management. Secondary expenditure, D, is also not a recognized financial category in the context of cloud computing or business expense classification. Quick memory tip, remember, cloud equals OpEx, on-premises equals CapEx. Cloud services like software licensing are recurring operational costs, not upfront capital investments. If this video is helping you, support us by hitting the like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Question 7. If Microsoft plans to end support for an Azure service that does not have a successor service, Microsoft will provide notification at least before. Select the correct option to fill the blank. The options are A, 1 month, B, 3 months, C, 6 months, D, 12 months. This question tests your knowledge of Microsoft's modern lifecycle policy and the minimum notification period for Azure service retirements. The key phrase here is does not have a successor service. This triggers a specific minimum notification requirement. The correct answer is 12 months. According to Microsoft's modern lifecycle policy, if Microsoft plans to end support for an Azure service that does not have a successor service, they will provide a minimum of 12 months notification to customers. This policy ensures customers have sufficient time to plan migrations, find alternative solutions, or adjust their infrastructure before the service is retired. This notification period excludes free services or preview releases, but applies to all generally available Azure services governed by the modern lifecycle policy. Why the other options are incorrect. 1 month A is far too short and does not align with Microsoft's modern lifecycle policy commitment. 3 months B is insufficient and not the official notification period stated in the policy. 6 months C is also incorrect and less than the actual 12-month minimum requirement. Quick memory tip. Remember, no successor equals 12 months notice. When there's no replacement service, Microsoft gives you a full year to prepare. Question 8. How can an organization ensure that certain VM workloads are physically isolated from workloads being run by other Azure customers? Select the correct option. The options are A. Run the VMs on different availability sets. B. This is not possible. These workloads need to be run on-premises. C. Configure the network to ensure that VMs on the same physical host is isolated. D. Run the VMs on Azure dedicated host. This question tests your understanding of physical isolation in Azure, specifically how to prevent your VMs from sharing physical hardware with other Azure customers. The key word here is physically isolated, meaning separate physical servers, not just logical separation. The correct answer is run the VMs on Azure Dedicated Host. Azure Dedicated Host is a service that provides physical servers dedicated to a single Azure subscription, ensuring hardware isolation at the physical server level. When you use Azure Dedicated Host, no other Azure customers' VMs will be placed on your hosts, giving you complete physical isolation. This is ideal for organizations with compliance requirements, regulatory needs, or security policies that mandate physical separation from other tenants. While dedicated hosts share the same network and storage infrastructure as other Azure hosts, the compute hardware itself is exclusively yours. Why the other options are incorrect. Availability sets, A, provide fault isolation and high availability by spreading VMs across different fault domains and update domains, but VMs still share physical hardware with other customers. Option B is incorrect because physical isolation is possible in Azure through Azure Dedicated Host. You don't need on-premises infrastructure. Network configuration. C, provides logical network isolation, but cannot ensure physical hardware isolation, as multiple customers' VMs can still reside on the same physical server. Quick memory tip, remember, dedicated host, dedicated hardware. When you need physical isolation from other Azure customers, only dedicated host guarantees an entire physical server for your subscription. To get the free PDF, simply watch this full video. As you watch, you'll see the progress bar generating your PDF in real time. Once the video is almost complete, the download button unlocks automatically. No forms, no sign up, just learn first, then download. Question 9. Which of the following options can you use to link virtual networks? Select the correct option. The options are A, network address translation, B, virtual network peering, C, dynamic host control protocol, D, multi-chassis link aggregation. This question tests your knowledge of Azure networking connectivity options and specifically how to connect multiple virtual networks together. The keyword link here refers to creating a connection between virtual networks so resources in one can communicate with resources in another. The correct answer is virtual network peering. Virtual network peering is the Azure service that enables you to seamlessly connect two or more virtual networks in Azure, allowing resources in one virtual network to communicate directly with resources in another virtual network. Peering works within the same region, VNet peering, or across different Azure regions, global VNet peering. And the traffic between peered networks travels over Microsoft's private backbone infrastructure with low latency and high bandwidth. Once peered, virtual machines and other resources can communicate as if they were in the same network without requiring VPN gateways, public internet, or encryption. Why the other options are incorrect. Network address translation, A, NAT, is used to translate private IP addresses to public ones for internet access, not for linking virtual networks. Dynamic host control protocol, C, DHCP, is used to automatically assign IP addresses to devices on a network, not for connecting virtual networks. Multi-chassis link aggregation, D, is a physical networking technology for combining multiple network connections for redundancy and bandwidth, not applicable to Azure Virtual Network Connectivity. Quick memory tip. Remember, peering equals private VNet bridge. Virtual network peering is the direct private connection between Azure virtual networks. Question 10. Your company has a software assurance agreement that includes Microsoft SQL Server licenses. You plan to deploy SQL Server on Azure virtual machines. What should you do to minimize licensing costs for the deployment? The options are A, deallocate the virtual machines during off hours. B, use Azure Hybrid Benefit. C, configure Azure cost management budgets. D, use Azure reservations. This question is about cost optimization when running SQL Server on Azure VMs. Because you already own SQL Server licenses with software assurance, you're expected to choose the option that reuses those licenses in Azure instead of paying again. The correct answer is use Azure Hybrid Benefit. Azure Hybrid Benefit allows you to reuse existing SQL Server licenses with software assurance when running SQL Server on Azure virtual machines, significantly reducing or eliminating the extra SQL licensing charges on those VMs. Instead of paying for SQL Server as part of the VM's hourly price, you tell Azure that you're using your own licenses, which can reduce costs by up to 55%. This is the most direct way to minimize licensing costs when you already have software assurance. Why the other options are incorrect. Deallocate VMs during off hours. A. Saves compute and storage costs, but does not leverage your existing SQL Server licenses to reduce licensing expenses. Configure cost management budgets. C. Helps you monitor and set alerts for spending, but it doesn't change the actual licensing costs or apply your existing licenses. Use Azure Reservations. D. Provides discounts on compute costs for 1 year or 3 year commitments, but does not apply your existing SQL Server licenses with software assurance. Quick memory tip. Remember, software assurance plus SQL equals hybrid benefit. Whenever you see existing SQL Server licenses with software assurance, think Azure Hybrid Benefit for licensing cost savings.